This is Sharon Bascovsky from Derkéta. You're tuned into Brews and Tunes.
Hello, everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. I am super excited today talking with Sharon Bascovsky from Derkéta, killer doom death metal band from Pennsylvania. So very excited to be chatting with you today, Sharon. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.
How you been doing today? Or how you doing lately? This crazy world.
Yeah, I've been pretty good. Hanging in there pretty well. You know, it's been a tough couple years for me and a lot of people. So it's, you know, we'll see how the rest of the year goes. But, you know, it's just, it's been different.
Yeah. Have you, with all this downtime in terms of, you know, as a professional musician, have you been writing? Have you been working on any new material?
Yeah. The new material is kind of been working on, but it's not so much, I didn't jump into it with COVID like everybody else did, because I still had to work. I didn't lose my job.
Right.
So, you know, nothing changed for me during that time. So it was still the time restraints and, you know, trying to get into the mental health, space to write the songs and stuff like that, and finding time to do that. So, you know, we're in process. We're a slow band. We've been in process for probably about a decade with these songs. Yeah, but it's going to get done. We're going to fast track it this year, and we have a recording system set up in our rehearsal room that we're going to start, you know, demoing everything out, and hopefully. Nice. Yeah, hopefully, you know, we'll have something by the end of the year. I mean, we figure every band is doing this right now. So I think there's going to be like a backlog of people trying to get releases out because of everyone COVID writing.
Right.
so I'm kind of not, you know, too worried about it. It'll happen when it happens.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's really exciting news to know that there'll be and this will be a full-length album, or?
Yeah, full length. Yeah. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to do an EP or full length, but full length I think is the amount of songs. Like we have about 6 right now. Okay. So I might as well just be a full length.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. Is this in a similar vein to In Death We Meet?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I don't know how to write any different. So.
Which is, I mean, it's a fantastic album. I've got a copy right here.
Thank you.
Yeah, very cool album, and I'm fortunate enough to have the newer version of it that has the extra bonus tracks, the EP or not an EP, single that you guys released, I think in 2014 originally.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so very cool stuff there. So yeah, and you do a cover of Sepultura, you know, Troops of Doom, and yeah, just some great, really cool stuff. For anybody that hasn't heard Derkéta, so, you know, kind of that classic doom death sound, and I love it. I think I've always loved that combination of styles, the you know, kind of the slow, sludgy, but, you know, very heavy. And also there's some really cool melodies. You guys have some pretty amazing melodies, I would say, especially in the title track. You know, that guitar work is, you know, for lack of a better term, it's beautiful. It's really incredible.
Oh, thank you. That's there's going to be more of that on this next one.
Nice.
It's weird. I've kind of it's very similar to the track that you're talking about. There's two songs that have that kind of you know, notey stuff going on, and yeah, I like it myself, versus, you know, straight riffing. You know, that kind of gets just boring after a while. So it's like, you know, having the notes come in, and making, that's like always been my thing, is trying to accomplish an eerie sound with notes, you know, and to try to make it sad or something, you know what I mean? And just by playing chords, you know, I can't personally accomplish that. So I'm kind of experimenting with a lot of the notes and stuff. And then we do the harmonies and all that to try to twist it up some. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's really incredible stuff. I really love it a lot.
Thank you.
Let's maybe kind of go back in time a little ways, or maybe a lot of ways. How did you originally get started in music? You know, kind of what was the impetus there?
Oh, well, I wanted to play from when I was real small. I will say like 5 years old. We used to go, my dad's real into flying in airplanes, and we used to go to Oshkosh, Wisconsin. They used to have a big flight show, and we would camp out there. And I remember there was a guy playing an acoustic, and someone would have mentioned like, oh, he's, you know, just got signed to something. I mean, I don't know who he was. Oh, wow. But it was like, it was all like, as a little kid, like, oh, you know, like this is cool. And so I started just watching him play, you know, wanted to play. So my brother had an old acoustic, but it, you know, it had old strings. It wasn't, you know, I didn't know what to do with it. And my dad and my parents were, and my mom, yeah, they were very much like, well, you're not playing that. So, you know, if we don't see you playing that, we're not going to buy you an electric guitar or anything like that. And so it took years. You know, I think I was finally 15 when I finally, you know, was able to get, you know, an electric guitar. And, you know, that's when I started playing around with writing. And I started writing, like at that time, I didn't even, being in a band, I don't think even was a thought. You know, it was more or less like I just thought it was cool, you know, and you know, I wanted to play, and to me, it seemed easier to play. And at that time, like, you know, when I was 10 years old, and even prior, you know, I've said this in other podcasts, like it amazes me when I think back of when songs came out, like Dream On from Aerosmith, you know, I think that was like 72 or something, you know what I mean? So it's like, those are the songs that, you know, I listened to growing up, and, you know, they're just great songs. And so it's like, they're very inspiring to want to play. And then when you know, 15 and you're trying to play this stuff, it's like, oh, wow, it's harder than you think, right. You know? And so, you know, I started taking lessons, and I think I got through 2. And I don't know, the guy, a little bit of a creep value to him, you know, so I didn't want to go back to him. And I just try to do it all on my own. And I got real bored. I just bought like a tablature book, and it was like songs like Breaking the Law and stuff. And I got real bored with trying to play, you know, learn and play, you know, along to like, you know, the album or cassette or whatever, because then you have to rewind, you know, try it again. And it just wasn't fun. And I finally got bored with trying to play cover songs, and I started stumbling over my own writing. And that's how it started happening. So then I started writing songs, and then it became like, well, I want to hear like what this would sound like, you know, with other, like with drums and everything. And that's how the whole band thing came about. And, okay. You know, it wasn't really that I wanted to be in a band type of thing. It just was like, you know, I'm kind of into the songwriting thing. I think it's fun.
Nice. That's cool. And kind of how did you already know, so it was Mary and Terry, right? Were the first original members, or no?
No, just Terry. Yeah, it was me and Terry for the longest time. I had met, I seen Terry at shows, because her and I, it's funny, it seems like all of us from back then, if you're in a band, like you get time stamped of when you come into the scene whenever you have a release out. You know what I mean? And you know, so like our first release was like September of '89. So that's the timestamp that, you know, of like when some people will acknowledge us as being in the scene, but we were actually in the scene prior, like in high school and stuff, you know. So we would go to shows and see each other, but we weren't, you know, she had her group of friends, I had my group of friends. And it wasn't until a party that was at the basis of Dream Death's house. He used to have every weekend he would have parties, Ted Williams, and everybody, like the local scene, like would show up at his house and everything. And she was talking with Dawn Crotsley of Nunslaughter, and I was friends with Dawn. And so that was kind of like our segue into like our friendship. And I just mentioned to her that I was writing some songs that, you know, I was thinking about starting a band. And she mentioned she was actually thinking the same. So we swapped numbers, and that's how we came about. But she, at that time, wasn't playing drums. She was wanting to be a vocalist. But the vocal style that she was thinking was more of a Fate's Warning, because, you know, she was more into like the thrash influence. I mean, she was into death metal, but the thrash influence was like more for her like vocal style. And I was like, no, I'm thinking of something more like a Cam Lee Massacre type of a vocal. And she's like, no, I don't think I can do that. And I said, well, what instrument would you want to play? And she was like, well, I've always wanted to play drums. And I said, well, why don't you be the drummer then? So, you know, we had a later start of the band because she started taking lessons. So Jeff from the band Doomwatch, which they're real well known here in Pittsburgh. They were, you know, one of the earlier bands of the early scene here. He was teaching her drums. He's a guitarist, but he was teaching her drums at their rehearsal spot. And that was the first time like I tried vocals, because I didn't want to be the vocalist. There's no one else left to do it, because it was me and her. So so I was like, oh, I guess I can do it then. And that's how it was started. So it was just the two of us for longest time. And then we were always on the search for members, trying to find who would fit with us and who we got along personally. Because that's what it comes down to, is being able to get along with someone personally.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter if they're, you know, good musicians or not, you know, you're just trying to find the right fit. So that's kind of where we started that quest once we started recording and stuff. So yeah, it was fun.
Nice. Very cool. I'm curious, and I don't want to dwell on this too much, because I think the important thing really is your music. But you know, just so people, in case people don't know this, your band Derkéta was the first all-female doom death metal band, and I was curious about, you know, once you and Terry got together, did you have a goal of having an all-female band? Is that just kind of what happened?
No, it's what happened. We actually, I mean, there was a point where Don Crotsley from Nunslaughter was learning the songs on bass. I mean, he didn't play bass, but he had a bass, and we were anxious to play live. And so he offered to play bass until we found someone. You know, so there wasn't anything that we were like, it has to be a girl or anything like that. But what happened was everybody, all of our friends were introducing us to girls. It was like, you know, like when, like Heidi, how she got involved, it was Vincent Crowley met her at a party, and he's like, hey, I met this girl, you know, she says she plays guitar, you know, she's into like Entombed and, you know, all this death metal, and, you know, she was talking about she wants to be in a band, and I told her to contact you. And so I'm like, oh yeah, okay. You know, we met her and we thought she was cool and everything, and so we you know, auditioned with her. With Kim August, we played briefly with her. She recorded on our first '89 rehearsal tape. Ross from Immolation got us in contact, because he's like, hey, I know this girl that plays bass. And so everybody was saying, and Mary came along from Don. Don had met her. And when he was trying to play bass, he's like, I'm not even a bass player. He's like, and I met this girl who actually is going to, University of Pitt for music, for bass, and she's in the metal and everything. He's like, why don't you guys meet, and maybe, she'll want to join. And so that's how it all started. And it was more everybody else kind of pushing it, that they thought it would be a neat thing, because it wasn't like a Spice Girls creation or anything like that, because it was actually people that were into metal and played an instrument, and people were like, hey, let's get these girls together, and it might work out to something cool, and that's how it became all female. So it wasn't an intention or anything like that. And Terry and I mean, we're just laid back about it all. We're like, yeah, okay, nice. Just more friends to hang out with. And so, yeah.
That's cool. But, and I think it's cool that it just kind of, came about, the way it happened, very organically, it sounds like, in a lot of ways. But it's also cool to think that, the kind of, I don't know if you think about this very often, but the kind of influence that your band had probably on a lot of young women at that time, because especially in the late 80s and early 90s, there were no women in the extreme metal scene really at all, at least not that a lot of people were aware of.
Yeah, that's been a topic for since back then. And the more I think about it, and I've mentioned it, like, there actually were a lot of women in extreme music, especially the punk scene.
That's true.
They just weren't into bands, and I don't know why that is. But it's always been looked at as it's like a rare thing. And at that time when we were getting into it, it was, the whole death metal scene was rare.
Yeah.
And it was separated too. It wasn't like how it is now. Like the thrash scene was completely different than the death metal scene. It's like it didn't, I remember like thrash people saying like, oh, you not to us, but I remember reading in interviews and stuff like, oh, death metal, if they were asked the question, oh, death metal people just play, they don't know how to play, so they play death metal, because right. Thrash was more like into more intricate playing and stuff like that. So there was always this thing, that not all genres got along. And so like with death metal, getting into what was happening there, it was rare in itself. And there weren't a lot of women that were into like being in bands at the time. Like the more people, like, when we would go to shows and everything, like I would see women there, and they were into it. It's not like they were somebody's girlfriend. If you look at Slayer, like any of the old Slayer videos, there's tons of women that were into Slayer and stuff like that. So it's kind of a mixed thing for me, that I think it appears rare, but I don't think it really was a rare thing. Yeah, it could be that people just didn't want to be in bands, but the women were always around. Even now, it's like I don't know if it would say like if it's a percentage, like a 50-50 or whatever, but there's a ton of women that's in the metal. And yeah, so I'm kind of mixed on that. But yeah, we were in the very beginning, as far as like women being into extreme bands, like, yeah, it was few, but nowadays I don't think it's rare. I think there's a ton of women that do it now.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, thankfully so. Yeah, and a lot of great bands, and yeah, it's good to see that. I was curious about kind of as far as your well, this is kind of a three-pronged question, I guess, in some ways. And maybe these things are mutually exclusive and maybe they're not, but I was curious about as far as your guitar playing and your songwriting, and then also your vocals, like who have been the musicians that have inspired you?
James Hetfield for sure. As far as playing, I would, that's whenever I was first introduced to the underground. It was when Metallica was still underground. They weren't on the radio yet, and it was through tape trading that I was hearing bands like them and Testament, and then MTV. They came. When they came on with all their videos, and I started getting introduced to all these other bands and everything. But James Hetfield, there was just something about him that he was, that's why I play the guitars that I play, because he used to play the Black Explorers and everything. And so I was all into the Explorer, but I got the Explorers at that time when I was 15. They're heavy guitars, like in weight wise. So when I went to buy an Explorer, it was just huge on me. And at that time they had the Gibson had like a small run of those custom edition XBLs, like the custom shops.
Oh yeah.
And they're a smaller cut Explorer. So that's what I played out. And that is all because of James Hetfield. So the playing wise, I would say him. Vocal wise, there's still a part of James Hetfield, because his older vocals, like on Ride to Lightning, because that was very inspirational for me. And then, but Chuck, from Death, Cam Lee, they all, were inspiring, and also, Celtic Frost, and even, there's a mix of people that were completely inspiring to me. Sepultura, we used to call them Sepultura, but Morbid Visions, I love that album. So they all had something to do with wanting me to, and I can't sing like for real, so it kind of worked. There was this other style to do, so that was all good.
Very cool. And then kind of what about your songwriting, both lyrics and music?
Yeah, that just happens. Like I don't know if that's always been my I don't even know how to explain it, but I'll get like a phrase in my head as I'm like just playing nonsense. Like that's how to write the songs all start out. It's just like I just sit down and I just start like playing nonsense and trying to discover something that sounds like evil or cool or something, And if I'm playing something, I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of neat. I'll get like this a phrase in my head that ends up being a lyrical line. And when that happens, I know that I'm writing a song. Oh. So then that, based on whatever that lyrical line is, I start to complete the song, because now I have a story that I can put in my head and kind of go from there. I can't I can't just write a bunch of riffs and stick them together and make it into a song. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. And I have to have some sort of an idea of what the song is. And that's I don't know, it's very odd to explain how it all happens, but it goes hand in hand. But there are times, and I think this happens to a lot of people, because I've jokingly mentioned it. A lot of times I get ideas when I'm in the shower. I'll get like a riff idea, and other people are like, yeah. And so I think, that's when, when you're in like an automatic mode and you're not thinking of anything in particular, and that's, your mind's kind of opened, and then you start just kind of like thinking of things. So, it's just however it comes out, I don't, there isn't a band that I try to emulate or anything like that. It's just kind of what happens. So cool. I know it doesn't make sense, and it probably sounds a lot of artsy fartsy type of thing, but
No, I think it makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to think that. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's a very organic process.
That's why it takes so long. For real, for real. Like I'm stuck. Like there's this one song I'm like stuck, like, you know, and lyrically, like I'll write. I have like the note, you know, those notes on iPhones, and I'll write it in there, and all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, I'll get another line. I'm like, oh, okay, now I can get back to writing that song because I just got the next line, and I can, you know, by how the vocals are in my head, and I can tell how the guitars are going to go and how what the flow of the song is going to be. So it's kind of like that, you know.
Nice. Nice. Is it at all a collaborative process as well with the other band members, or?
It's the way I look at it, it's like I write the bass of the songs, and then everybody contributes to their part,
Okay.
and it kind of brings it out. Like Mike's drumming is amazing because now, you know, Terry no longer is playing drums in the band. We have Mike Laughlin, who used to play with Cattle Decapitation, and Creation is Crucifixion. So it's a different drum style than Terry, but his style brings out more ideas, you know. So like if I'm playing him, like, oh, how about this, you know, can you come up with something with this? And what he plays can then be like, oh, okay, now that makes me think of this. So then I'll write something, you know, that I didn't think the song was going to be a certain way, and it kind of changes. So everybody's like their contributions kind of make it like mold into the song. And Trish, you know, Mary is kind of like like a backup person now. Like she started a business, and she didn't have time for the band, so it was like, you know, you know, so she I didn't want her to quit or anything like that. So it's kind of like, you know, Trish, who always was filling in for Robin on bass. If Robin wasn't able to make a show, she stepped up to guitar. So her writing is different than Mary's, but it's still cool. Like I can't explain it. Like I'll be like, hey, like, can you write something like a couple notes like right around here, and what she comes up with just completely, like, it's not what I was thinking, but it's something that she was thinking, and it makes it sound so much better. So it is collaboration as far as that goes. But like the base of the song, it's like I kind of have to write that because of the whole music and lyrics thing. Like I need that to kind of all fit together. Like if someone like handed me a song and they were like, can you write lyrics to this? I wouldn't be able to do it. Like that would be a real hard time for me to sit there and try to figure it out, you know.
Gotcha. Wow, that's cool. That's really interesting. As far as so, you know, obviously you mentioned earlier in the interview, you got new music you're working on, you know, kind of with a tentative plan of hopefully releasing towards the end of the year, maybe, or at first of next year.
Yeah. We're talking, there's a, I don't know if I can say it, but there's a band that we're going to do like a split 7-inch with,
Nice.
You know, a Chicago band. And, but you know, we're just in the talks of doing it. So I think that's what we're going to do next is in the middle of, you know, because there hasn't really been anything released since 2014. So so we're thinking, well, we can do this split 7-inch with one of the songs to kind of get people, you know, ready for what's coming up next. So nice. That's probably going to be the next move. And as far as the when we can record, we're going to test out you know, what we have in the studio. Mike, he's in another band called Auto Replicant. They're kind of like a Voivod band, and they recorded up there, and it didn't sound bad at all. So if we get lucky, you know, we could probably record up there and send it out to get mixed and everything. And if that happens, it could be a lot sooner than trying to book into a studio, and then that's getting into everyone's schedules of when they can get in. you know, that's the biggest thing with us is our personal schedules, like our work schedules and all of that, trying to coordinate. So
right. And that kind of, that's a good dovetail into my next question with new music coming out, but also with, you know, I mean, you all have busy lives and full-time jobs, and are there any plans for live shows, for touring, for festivals?
yeah, we're playing a festival in November, this November in Atlanta, the Mass Destruction Fest.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, Repulsion's playing, Nuclear Assault. So I think Suffocation. So it's going to be a good fest. So that's the first weekend in November. So
yeah, and I would say if people want to get a good feel for your sound, and I just kind of stumbled on this one day. This is a while ago, but there's some incredible footage of Derkéta playing in Seattle. I think it's the Terror Fest from like 2019.
Yeah, the Northwest Terror Fest. That was a really good show, except I was sick and my vocals aren't as good there. I actually lost my voice, and yeah, the show, the beginning songs like started out like decent enough with the vocals, but I could tell like as the set was going on that I like, you know, I wasn't even sure if anything was coming out of my mouth.
Oh no.
Yeah, like there was like a weird sickness that was going around, like, and whoever was like at MDF like that year unleashed some sort of, you know, because there was people that were at Seattle that actually had the same cold. Oh. And but we were at MDF like a couple days, the weekend before, but yeah, so it was some sort of an MDF cold, and yeah, that was I was completely just anxious, and there was a Whole Foods store across the street. I was going over there. I was buying like raw ginger, eating ginger, and doing all kinds of like crazy stuff to try to get my voice to be somewhat there, you know. But yeah,
I thought it sounded great. I mean,
thank you. That was
a really cool show. I mean, it's you know, it's a full set. It's, you know, at least like you said, I just kind of stumbled upon it on YouTube, you know, one night just looking around, and yeah, came upon it.
I'll have to watch it, because my memory of it is that I wasn't even sure if my vocals were, you know, there or not. You know?
Yeah, it sounds good, and I don't know if it was. It's also I don't know if it was the festival or whoever filmed it. The sound quality is great. The quality, the video footage is really good too. So,
oh, that was a total pro fest. Like those guys that put it on, they were top notch. Like they treated us very well. Totally cool guys. All the bands like were completely happy with them. That is, you know, like to the bands out there, if you ever get asked to play Northwest Terror Fest in Seattle, play it. It's a good experience.
Have you you know, over the years, have you guys gone out of the country to tour as well? Have you gone to Europe? Have you gone to South America at all?
No, we had one show in Denmark. We played the Killtown Death Fest.
Oh, cool.
So that was just like a one-off show. That was, I would think it was 2018 that we played that, and that's been it. I mean, we want to go back. I mean, but the problem, you know, we can't really do a tour. You know, it's like my drummer, he doesn't get very much vacation time, and you know, it's you know, it's the adult thing. You know, like this isn't our full-time job. That, you know, we are more you know, into like doing the fest, just flying in and flying back and getting back to our regular jobs, unfortunately.
Right.
But yeah, so hopefully another festival asks us and we can get back over there. It was such a fun experience.
Cool. Are there any like any dream shows, any dream festivals that, you know, kind of that white whale, the show that you want to play?
I think I'd like to play Brutal Assault. Everyone tells me that one is like a good one. You know, Ross from Immolation was telling me about it, and him and his girlfriend were like, oh my God, like you just got to come with us, like just to attend, even that it is such a good show. Nice. So they kind of got me, you know, like I wouldn't mind playing it then, you know. And a lot of the other fests, like Hellfest, like that intimidates me. Right. You know, because of the amount of people, and like Grass Pop, like that's like too many people. Right. So I know a lot of people that's for, you know, they'd be like thrilled to play it, but I think oh my God, the anxiety of thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I'm the same way. There's that part of me, like, well, especially now, you know, it's weird being around a lot of people. But, after this past year, but yeah, I mean, I've had friends ask me, or, you know, colleagues or whatever, like, hey, have you ever thought about going to Wacken? I'm like, well, I've thought about it, but it also terrifies me.
So. Exactly. That just seems completely just over the top, huge, you know, like a ton of people. And, you know, I'm not, I don't consider myself like a showman, or, you know, like I'm not comfortable on stage. So it's the smaller, you know, festivals I can handle. But when I see like videos of other bands, it's just like, holy shit, that's gotta be like, like, you know, 50,000 people or something. It's like, oh my God, I don't know. You know, everyone that tells me that plays it, it's like, it's, you know, like they, you know, can tune everybody out because you can't see everybody because of the lights and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm more happy with the smaller ones.
Yeah, I think I would be the same way. I'm not a musician, but I think I would be I mean, I guess there's probably a rush to that, you know, the huge festival, you know, atmosphere, you know, as a musician. It's got to be a bit of a rush, but it also seems like it'd be very intimidating.
Yeah.
That sea of people, especially if you're playing and you can actually see them all.
Oh my God, yeah, that would be, I see a lot of like with the outdoor ones, and that just, you know, how could you not see them? Because it's like, you know, if you're playing early in daylight, it's like, there they are, you know. And it's you know, I try to tune out, like, and not like, you know, pay too much attention to the crowd, because I do get not intimidated, but I get very anxious, because, you know, when you're the vocalist, you know, people usually are watching the vocalist. So, you know, you have like, you know, hundreds of people just staring at you. And if you start like thinking about it, you know, it's like, you know, like, look at them, stop looking at me, you know what I mean? And it messes with your mind a little bit, at least for me. Like, so I try to look above the crowd, and like I usually, the sound man is usually, you know, I usually give them a heads up that, like, you know, like, I hope I don't look creepy if I end up like staring at you during the whole set. But it's like, I'm not really looking at you, but like I try to find an object to focus on. If I start getting comfortable, I start like, you know, looking at other, you know, things. But then as soon as I start like kind of like I go straight back to like a something for me to stare at, and just forget about that people are looking at me.
Nice. Well, I don't want to keep you all day, but so I do have one last question for you. So my blog, Brews and Tunes, I pair craft beer with metal albums. And are you a beer drinker? Do you?
No, I'm actually right now completely straight edge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I used to drink though, but I got acid reflux really, really bad, so it kills me to drink anything. But I was a whiskey drinker, and I liked whiskey and wine. That was always my go-to. Sometimes beer, like it was like Corona or Magic Hat, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't had a drink since 2019, December 2019.
Oh, okay.
So,
good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, maybe I will leave out the alcohol part of it, but you know, if you're
no, you can talk alcohol. That's fine.
yeah. I mean, if you're hanging out on a Saturday night, you know, what albums do you like to spin? What do you like to play?
Oh, the latest. Well, I just I'm stumbling now, and if Scott Carroll from Cyanide is watching it, he's gonna laugh. I just bought the Partridge Family greatest.
Oh wow!
At the same time that I bought that, he had sent me what are they called? He's gonna kill me, like Iron City House Rockers or something. But they're an older local rock band from Pittsburgh that he's into. And for a surprise, he sent it to me, and he didn't hear anything from me. And he said, "Hey, you gotta check out. I sent you an album or whatever." And I'm like, "You did?" And then I said, "Oh, I did get something, but I thought it was the Partridge Family." And we're texting each other. We're like, "Oh my god, like who are we?" But that like it's like recent. Like I have like that all like right in front of me. But if I'm going like a Saturday night, like Bathory, Blood, Fire, Death is a repeat for me. That's one that I love to put on.
Cool.
Yeah. So God, I'm trying to think of the other ones. Bolt Thrower. Anything Bolt Thrower. I'm all for that. That's like my all-time favorite band.
Yeah, great.
Candlemass Epicus, I'll put that on sometimes. But not too long ago I was listening to Def Leppard, so but yeah, so I don't know. Nice. But yeah, now I drink water. I drink water with listening to albums, so it's just quite boring, and it's not like not anything that's too exciting.
No, that's great. Well, thank you so much, Sharon. This was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, there'll be a link if anybody looks below this video, there's a link in the description to check out Derkéta. Pick this up if you don't already own it. It kicks ass. I love it. It's a fantastic album. So very excited to hear the new music in the next year or so. So yeah, thank you so much again for meeting with me. This was great.
Oh, thanks for having me. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.